Good morning or good afternoon everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For this week's video I am going to introduce my viewers to a layout that I've just started acting as a consultant for. I'm not actually doing any of the construction work at the moment, and I didn't design it either, although he did want my input and I spent some time critiquing a few of his plans. I'm making some improvements here and there. More than likely there will be additional videos in this series, although not in the near future. It's likely to be at least a year before I get to visit this layout again. But what made this a very interesting visit is that instead of having me spend 2 days driving there and back, the client's other hobby is flying, and he suggested that he just come pick me up. So that's what we did. Since I'm sure many of my viewers will never get to look out of the front windshield of an airplane in flight, I decided to include some highlights of the return flight. There's no clips from the outbound flight because I was still experimenting with camera position during that one. So most of the duration of this video is actually flying rather than model railroads. If you're not interested in that part, feel free to stop the video partway through. So anyway, that's enough introduction. Let's go and take a look at this client's layout.
Well, here we are at the airport, and there is my ride. It's a Baron, not quite sure what the model number is. I think it's a 6-seater, and this is going to be fun. Well, here is the railroad building. It's an outbuilding on the customer's farm. We walk through his workshop to get to the train room. And it's an L-shaped space wrapped around the workshop. He's building it in 3-rail O-scale. I've actually been here since yesterday. I'm actually going to be packing up to leave in a couple of hours from now. We've done a few things, but mainly he wanted me here to pick my brains, to use me as a consultant, answer all his questions. So for the last day and a half, he's been barraging me with a gazillion questions about what to do here, there and everywhere. And he's very happy with the information that he's been able to get. He's built railroads before, but nothing complicated. This is going to be 2.5 levels. This is the start of his Helix. His main concern with the Helix was that the train would be disappearing for a while. He wanted as much of it visible as possible. So along the front, the bottom lap has been herniated out of the front of the Helix. So after passing through a fairly short tunnel at the base of the ridge, the train pops back into view again for half a lap, goes round again, then there's another 2 laps of Helix above that, which he hasn't built yet. And we've been talking about the idea of having some cave openings that the train will just be visible in briefly. It's not meant to represent any real-world setting. When I asked him what he was trying to represent, he said realistic fantasy. At first I was a little bit skeptical about the cave idea, but he showed me a photograph of something that someone else has done. And it's probably the best way that either of us can think of to avoid the problem with the train being out of sight for so long. His main yard is wrapped around these 2 walls here. So he has 4 long yard tracks. You're going to have some industry in this end. He's already got his turntable mounted. That's a 33-inch turntable, which is large enough for full-size locomotives. He wants to get a big boy, and that's the size turntable it needs, 33 inches. We've talked about how best to disguise his DCC cabinet, and it's the perfect place for a large structure. See this piece of track here, there is going to be an industrial spur running down there, and we can have a building about 4 or 5 stories high wrapped around 3 sides. So it would look like about a 50 by 200 foot building, whereas in actual fact it only takes up 1 inch of depth all the way around. This cabinet he built out of nice hardwood. He said he got the idea from me, although he added doors to it. I think he's made a very good job of this. As I've mentioned before, a cabinet like this serves two purposes, or can serve two purposes. Firstly, it groups all the DCC components into one place, and secondly, it can be used to provide a lot of rigidity to the peninsula of a multi-deck layout, as is the case here. He said his benchwork was really floppy until he added that. It made a huge difference. He thought he was going to have to anchor the legs to the floor. He's using Ross track, which I just discovered yesterday is all hand built. I didn't know that. So here is his supply of track. I believe he's bought enough to complete the lower deck and the Helix, although we have made a few modifications to the track layout on both decks to get things to work better. As I say, I'm not here to do any construction today, although we've done a few little adjustments. He had one turnout mounted in this location here, and we realised that it wasn't in the best place. We moved it to improve the scenery because his back track was right up against the wall, but by moving it about a foot to the left, it still lines up where it's supposed to and gives us room for some shallow scenery behind the rear track. This is not the last time you're going to see this layout on my channel. He wants me to come back next year sometime and help him with some scenery and some other stuff. Probably a week or so where I'm going to work with him. More than likely we're going to be scenic in the area around the Helix on the lower deck so that he can get some practice doing that. Although he's doing all the bench work and all the track laying himself, it's the scenery that he says he's going to have trouble with. He says he's just not artistic at all. Even though the scenery is by far the easiest part of the railroad once you know how to do it. So hopefully by the time I've been here a week, he will have the confidence to continue.
Few and far between.
50 years that I've never had one. Always something that I could have done better. Some closer than others.
them lightly is because they were picking up a couple hundred cars somewhere else.
Unless they didn't know for sure how long the line was going to be, so they wanted to leave the runway open until somebody came in.
The video frame rate is not quite the multiple of the so you can see it coming through every now and again.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that view?
Whatever you want. There's a runway heading 32 runway.
Well, that's all for this week. As I said, it's a little bit different from what I normally put out there. I don't normally include travel clips in my layout visits, but I thought in this occasion it was fun to do so. Please let me know in the comments below what was your favourite part of the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So I will just wind it up here, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.